My name's Louise Adams and I'm the Chief Executive for Australia and New Zealand for Oricon. Given the consolidation we've seen, particularly at the top end of the Australian construction sector in recent years, I'm interested in your impression on the state of competition and competitive practices moving forward.
Thanks for the question, Louise. The construction sector is concentrated at the top end. That is, when you're dealing with big projects. Obviously, smaller projects, there's many players. Big projects, it is quite concentrated. Therefore, one thing that would be helpful is sometimes as if governments in particular could break projects into smaller bits so that you get more competition, but I recognise you can't always do that. We do have fundamental competition concerns with the construction sector. One is the often requirement for EBAs before firms are allowed to work on construction sites. That can sometimes be done in ways that are anti-competitive, and we've got cases in court on that issue and we'll likely have more. Also, I'm afraid the construction sector is a bit more prone to cartel activity. We have cases already in court. There will be more. So that's a concern just as well. Just the whole bidding nature of construction does lend itself to cartels. But look, it's a very important sector for the Australian economy, but I think if we had more competition, particularly at the top end, and we had less anti-competitive conduct, that would be a lot better for the Australian economy.
Hi Rod, my name's Melissa Wilson and I'm a Senior Economist here at CEDA. My question is, can digital markets be regulated in the same way that we've regulated other markets in the past, or do we need a fundamentally different approach? For example, is there a role for international cooperation in the regulation of emerging digital monopolies?
Thanks for the question, Melissa, and it's an important one. Where digital platforms differ from other sectors is they can be gateways to so many other sectors of the economy. Often the way they do things is unclear. Often there's a lot more scope for self-preferencing. So, look, we'll mainly rely on the same laws we apply in other sectors, but there will be some differences. We certainly urge the government to give us a sort of proactive monitoring and enforcement role, which means we're looking more deeply at ad tech and apps. Obviously, we've recommended the media bargaining code as a specific fix for a specific problem. I think there's issues in relation to mergers because the digital platforms have largely grown strong and much larger by an amazing amount of acquisitions. So when it comes to, I think there will be some different rules like the media bargaining code. I think there will be a need for a more proactive approach to enforcement and monitoring. And I do think we need to think about a new approach to mergers in relation to digital platforms. The other part of your excellent question is, yes, we will work very closely with our international colleagues. Many of these issues do need an international solution, one that's put in place by a number of countries. But most importantly, we're learning off each other. So we understand and learn from what other countries are doing. Hopefully they do a bit of learning from us. And, you know, 1 and 1 makes 3. We come up with better answers because we're talking to each other and we're learning from each other. So international cooperation is just fundamental.
G'day Rod, Simon Mose here from Gilbert and Tobin. One of the observations that I've made over the last couple of years has been the predominance of private enforcement in relation to the new and remodelled Section 46. I think something like 5 of the first 6 cases under the new rules have been brought by private litigants, and I think 1 perhaps by the Commission to date. My question, I suppose, is this. Firstly, is that a trend that the Commission's observed, and generally your thoughts about it? And I suppose more specifically, what, if any, effect has that trend had on the way the ACCC perhaps is viewing enforcement under the new misuse of market power rules?
Thanks for the question, Simon. A topic dear to both our hearts in relation to Section 46. The fact that we've got a number of private cases and only 1 46 case from us, I think it's a bit too early to say that it's a trend, but it's really something we welcome. We don't want to be the only one enforcing the Competition and Consumer Act. So we've got one very important case in court We'll have a lot more over coming years, but the fact that we've got those private sector cases is something we very much welcome. I think that sends signals for better behaviour from companies, less anti-competitive behaviour. Of course, keep in mind we had the famous Queensland Wire case, which is a private litigation, and that helped our laws, shape our laws tremendously. Everyone keeps quoting it. It was a private case. So there's definitely a role for private litigation. It won't affect what we do. We'll take our cases as we judge appropriate, but the fact that you've got some private litigation, I think, will help our laws and really help our compliance, because companies have got to worry about not just what we might do, but what other companies might do in terms of taking them to court. So I hope it becomes a trend, because I think it actually is a good thing, but it won't affect what we do. We'll continue to take cases as best we can. Thanks.